Hey guys, tonight we travel to a place where one wrong glance could earn you a duel, and one wrong duel could end your entire reincarnation cycle early. Ancient Japan, land of cherry blossoms, honor codes, and warriors with killer accessories. That's right. We're talking about fans. Not the kind you wave when it's hot, but the kind that might take out your front teeth before you can even draw your sword. Imagine standing in a bamboo grove at dawn, mist curling like incense around your ankles. The samurai you just insulted is already in position. You clutch your blade like it owes you rent, expecting steel to meet steel. But he raises a fan. Polished wood, iron-ribbed, with lacquered blossoms painted across its folds. You almost laugh. Big mistake. Because you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening while tucked under your covers, drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see where history is tucking people in tonight. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You squint at the fan, thinking it must be ceremonial. Maybe symbolic. Or maybe he forgot his sword. That'd be lucky for you. Until you remember that fans, Tessin, to be precise, weren't toys. They were made with iron spines, sharpened edges, and when folded, could leave bruises darker than a moonless Kyoto night. You step forward. He doesn't move. Your instincts scream, strike now. But something about his stance holds you back. Balanced, relaxed, deadly. This is not a sword fight. This is something older, stranger. There's history here. You're standing on ground soaked in the sweat of warriors who practiced for hours just to flick that fan with the precision of a surgeon, who used it to knock arrows from the sky, who could make you regret your entire bloodline with one open and close flourish. The fan snaps open. The sound alone startles a bird from the trees. You blink. His feet haven't moved. His face hasn't changed. But suddenly you understand that you are not fighting a man. You're fighting a language. One written in fan strikes, wrist turns, breath control, and cultural context deeper than your weekend binge of samurai movies prepared you for. Because this isn't just about combat, it's about meaning. Fans in Japan weren't just fashion, they were signals. The commander's orders on the battlefield, the invitation to speak at court, the subtle, your shoe is untied, in noble society. And yes, they were weapons, quiet ones that didn't scream their deadliness, ones that punished overconfidence. Historians still argue whether all samurai carried war fans regularly, or if they were reserved for certain ranks and rituals. But here's what's certain. Underestimating one, that's the fastest way to get schooled in a language you don't speak. You lunge. He flicks the fan, and your blade swings wide, slicing air and pride. But not him. First lesson, he says, as your momentum staggers you forward. Don't assume sharp means dangerous. You barely register the movement, but he's already behind you. The fan touches the back of your neck, light as breath, final as fate. And just like that, the duel is over. He lets you walk away. But the shame? That's permanent. You limp off, cradling your bruised ego, while he folds the fan and tucks it into his belt like a bookmark in a bedtime story you didn't finish reading. And yes, next time, you'll bring your own. Later that day, you sit beneath the red-leafed canopy of a maple tree, rubbing your neck and trying not to cry over your bowl of rice. The sting of that iron-ribbed fan still lingers, not just on your skin, but in your pride. You tell yourself you're recovering, meditating even, reflecting on your choices. But let's be honest, you're sulking. Because deep down, you know this wasn't just a duel gone sideways. It was a culture clash, a historical mismatch. You came in expecting swords and honor and maybe a dramatic monologue. Instead, you got a quiet, precise lesson in how little you knew about the silent weapons of Japan. So now, let's back up a little. You're not the first to be baffled by a fan. In feudal Japan, especially during the late Heian through Edo periods, tessenjutsu, the art of fan combat, was a recognized martial practice. And it wasn't just for samurai who wanted to accessorize. It had a real, practical purpose. There were times and places where carrying a sword was illegal or inappropriate. Temples, courts, or visits with people more powerful than you. But a fan? A fan was harmless, decorative, civil, until it wasn't. Imagine being invited to a meeting in the shogun's hall. No swords allowed. You're patting yourself down for a decent insult to hurl when the guy across from you leans forward, politely flicks his fan, and you find yourself on the floor wondering what part of your body just cracked. That's the power of the tessen. Lightweight but reinforced, often constructed with iron ribs hidden beneath lacquered paper or silk. It was a subtle way to be armed in an unarmed space. The martial equivalent of a well-placed chess piece. Elegant, deadly, legal, and fans weren't just for physical defense, they were tools of authority. Military leaders used folding fans, often elaborate gunsen or tessen, to signal troops during battle. A single snap could mean advance, retreat, or hold your ground. If you misunderstood the signal, well, you'd better start writing your will in kanji. Because in samurai warfare, hesitation was fatal. Historians still argue whether fan signals were always standardized or if they varied by clan and region. Some say commanders developed entire coded systems, passing them down through trusted captains. Others believe many gestures were improvised, relying on a kind of martial intuition, like jazz, but with more armor and slightly fewer saxophones. But outside the battlefield, that's where things got interesting. There are stories, real, documented accounts, of political assassinations using fans. One tale tells of a man approached on the road, bowing respectfully to a nobleman. As he did, he raised his fan, not in greeting, but to deflect the flash of a concealed blade. 1 second it's courtesy, the next it's self-defense choreography. You picture this and wonder, what would your fan look like? Probably not lacquered. Maybe something humble, bamboo and cloth, with a tiny scratch where you nervously tap it against your palm. You'd keep it tucked in your sash, pretending not to know how to use it. Until one day, someone disrespects you, steps into your shadow, reaches for steel. And you unfold your fan like a riddle. Snap. The sound echoes in the air like a slammed book. And you remember the samurai who humiliated you. The way he didn't need to raise his voice. The way his feet never moved. You're not there yet. But you could be. Because tessenjutsu wasn't just a skill, it was a statement. A reminder that violence didn't always need noise. That grace could be sharp. That dignity could strike first. You lean back and close your eyes. The wind stirs the trees, and for a second, you imagine the leaves are all fans, whispering secrets in an ancient tongue you've only just begun to learn. And somewhere out there, the samurai folds his fan again, not in threat, but in respect. Your bruises have started to fade, but your curiosity hasn't. You're walking through the village now, down a winding path between rice paddies and low houses with thatched roofs, following a rumor. Someone mentioned a retired Tessin Jutsu instructor lives nearby. The kind who can knock a pine cone off your head from across the yard without spilling his tea. Sounds like exactly the kind of training you need. You spot his home easily. It's the one with the tiny bamboo fence and the laundry line strung with perfectly symmetrical socks. An old man kneels in the garden, coaxing a stone lantern back into balance with the casual reverence of someone who once snapped limbs for a living. His sleeves are rolled up. His fan is tucked into his obi sash. You bow deeply. He doesn't return it. Just raises a single eyebrow and says, "You're late. You haven't introduced yourself yet." But this isn't a place where names matter. Not at first. Here, the only introductions that count are posture, patience, and presence. So you nod and stay quiet. Training begins immediately, not with drills, but with tea, because everything in samurai culture was ritualized. And if you can't pour tea without spilling, how can you fold a fan under pressure? You sit across from him on the tatami mat, trying not to blink too fast or breathe too loud. He opens a wooden box, withdraws a simple iron fan, and places it between you. "No talking," he says. "Watch." He moves like smoke, slow, fluid, deliberate. Opens the fan, closes it, taps it once against the table. With each motion, your heartbeat sinks a little more with the rhythm. You don't know why, but you're holding your breath. And when he finally sets the fan down, you exhale like you've just heard a poem. Then he picks up a rice cracker and tosses it at your head. Without thinking, you flinch. Too slow. "Again," he says. So it goes. Each morning, more movements, more drills. Opening, striking, folding, deflecting pebbles, disarming bamboo sticks, timing your breathing to the fan's arc. Some days, he doesn't say a word. Other days, he won't stop talking, but only in koans. "You don't hold the fan," he tells you once. "You let the fan hold you." You don't understand what that means. Not yet, but your body does. And over time, your hands stop fumbling. Your wrists loosen. You learn to feel the fan's weight as an extension of your center. Not a weapon, but a whisper. You practice with water jugs balanced on your shoulders. You walk across rice paper without tearing it. You catch falling leaves with the edge of your iron fan and pretend it's normal. You find out that samurai didn't just use the tessin for combat or command. They also used it for communication. A fan half opened in court could mean hesitation. A fan dropped on purpose, disrespect. And waving it too quickly in summer heat might be interpreted as arrogance. Historians still argue whether certain fan gestures carried universal meanings or whether they were more like poetry, interpreted differently depending on the reader. One scholar insists fans functioned like facial expressions in times when emotion had to be hidden. Another claims they were distractions, ways to make others underestimate their deadliness. You start to believe both are true. Weeks pass. You bruise your knees, split your knuckles, and learn the sound a fan makes when it clips a dragonfly mid-flight. And then, one morning, your teacher nods toward the horizon. "Go." You frown. "Go where?" He shrugs. "Where you're needed or not, doesn't matter." "But I still don't know the final technique," you protest. He smiles. "You do." And just like that, you're dismissed. You walk away slowly, fan tucked into your sash, unsure whether to laugh or bow or look over your shoulder one last time. But you don't, because there's a rhythm now. And the fan? It's part of you. Your first real test comes sooner than expected. You're not in a duel. Not exactly. You're in a tea house, which, on the surface, seems like the least threatening place in the world. Paper lanterns sway in the breeze. A kettle hisses gently in the background, and the woman serving rice cakes hums a lullaby meant for infants and weary travelers. You're nestled on a floor cushion, sipping weak barley tea, fanning yourself in lazy circles. And that's when he walks in. You feel him before you see him. The way a storm makes silence deeper. The room stills. Even the incense forgets to rise for a moment. He's broad-shouldered, silent, a single katana at his hip, lacquered sheath worn but polished. He doesn't speak, just scans the room with the kind of eyes that turn air cold. You lower your fan. A little, not too much, because this is a test, not of strength, but of posture, of placement, of presence. The man sits across from you, no invitation needed. He places his tea money on the mat with deliberate weight, like he's paying for the tension he's about to cause. Hot day, he says. You nod. Fan helps. He glances at it, then your hand, then your tea. Then he smiles, and it's not a nice smile. You trained under the old man near the cypress grove, he says, more statement than question. Your tea tastes bitter now. Yes. He leans forward. He teach you the red spiral? You don't answer. He laughs softly. Didn't think so. Historians still argue whether the red spiral was an actual finishing move or just a dramatic metaphor passed between duelists like ghost stories. Some say it was a hidden fan technique designed to disarm without drawing blood. Others insist it was a bluff, something samurai whispered about to make opponents hesitate. You've heard both versions, and now you're sitting across from someone who clearly believes it's real, and maybe intends to find out. He finishes his tea in one loud slurp, then rises, leaves a coin, and on his way out, he says, "We'll find out tomorrow." You don't sleep much that night. Instead, you sit by the riverbank, watching the fireflies buzz like floating embers, trying to steady your breath. Your fan rests on your lap, closed tight. You whisper to it, like it's a prayer or a blade, or both. Morning arrives in a blue haze. The agreed spot is behind the shrine, where old stones curve into half-forgotten statues and moss grows like green memories on everything that once mattered. He's already there, stretching, rolling his wrists, smiling. Your teacher told you once, a real duel begins before the first step. The moment two minds lock before either hand moves, that's the opening strike. You stand 30 paces away, fan still tucked. He draws first, not his blade, just breathe. Then motion. It's fast, intentional, a downward cut meant to intimidate, not land. You don't flinch. You fan once, just once. And in that flick of motion, wide, circular, slow, you find your breath, you find your rhythm, you find the line between fear and precision. He pauses, eyes narrowing. You move forward, your steps measured by heartbeat and habit. He adjusts his grip. Your hand rests on your fan. He lunges. You pivot. Not backward. To the side. Your fan catches the sun for one blinding instant and meets his wrist with a snap so clean, even the birds fall silent. He stumbles, not hurt, but halted. You step away, fan still closed. He straightens, hand on sword again, but hesitates, because he saw something, felt something, not a blade, not a strike, something subtler, weightless, terrifying. He exhales, then bows. You return it. No words exchanged, none needed. You walk away before your knees give out. And your fan? You hold it lightly now, like a story that hasn't finished speaking. You wake the next morning not to birdsong, but to bruises you don't remember earning. Your forearm hums where you blocked. Your shoulder clicks when you stretch. But your fan lies on the mat beside you, closed, undamaged, smug. Seti once said fans have memories. Yours now holds a quiet victory, Breakfast is rice and pickled daikon with a hint of yuzu zest to pretend things are normal. But they aren't. Not really. You stepped into a dance older than buildings. You tasted the air before a duel. You survived. And you didn't even unsheath a blade. That, your teacher would say, is the whole point. You head toward the shrine again, this time not for battle, but for balance. The mossy path leads through whispering bamboo, where cicadas tune the world with static. An old woman sweeps the steps. She doesn't look up, but says, "You moved like the wind yesterday." You blink. "You saw?" She taps the broom against the stone. Everyone saw, even the ones pretending not to. You bow slightly. She nods back. An agreement, an offering, a warning. Because now, you're being watched. In the village below, you notice eyes. The merchant selling chestnuts pauses when you pass. A group of children pretend to play but mimic your footwork with sticks. Even the monk at the tea stand offers your cup with both hands and a respectful tilt of the head. You've shifted. You're not just the traveler anymore. You're the one who fanned off a blade. And that's complicated. You stop by a carpenter's workshop. The scent of sawdust is grounding. The tools, neatly arranged, look more threatening than most weapons. The master nods at you. "Want it reinforced?" he asks, nodding toward your fan. You blink. "It's just bamboo and paper." He grunts. "So was the kite that tricked an army." Historians still argue whether ancient Japanese battle fans, tessen, were ever truly used as weapons or simply carried as symbols of rank and calm. Some versions were indeed made of iron, capable of blocking blades or breaking bones. Others were ceremonial, folding elegance into hierarchy. But what everyone agrees on is this: the fan was never just a fan. You accept his offer. By nightfall, your fan carries an extra weight, not enough to notice unless you know what to look for. Reinforced ribs, a core that hums slightly when you move it too fast. You twirl it once, then fold it back. It feels like a secret, like armor disguised as grace. You carry it tucked in your sleeve now, not just for style, but as acknowledgement of your choice and your danger, because word travels. The next time you're called, it isn't to a tea house. It's to a cliffside, a message delivered on rice paper folded like a crane. The duel isn't a grudge match. It's a test. This time, they want to see how far you'll go. The man waiting has a face like dried riverbed and eyes like coal that refuses to spark. No anger, just calculation. He doesn't speak. He bows. You return it. Then fan once, open, steady. He nods and draws his fan too. Not iron, feathered, beautiful, deadly. It begins with circling. Not lunges, not cuts. Circles. Two warriors weaving air into intention. Steps mimicking old dances no one teaches but everyone remembers. You swing wide. He ducks under, flips his fan outward. You meet his arc. And for a moment, your fans clap together. Not like swords, like thunder. It's poetry disguised as violence. You both pause, breathing, sweating, smiling. There's respect here, a shared language. You've met someone who knows what fans are really for. Not just striking, not just blocking, but speaking, declaring peace with power behind it. He steps back, lowers his fan. "Good," he says, then vanishes into the bamboo. No winner, no loser, just echo. You walk home under moonlight, fan still warm in your palm. And the stars? They shimmer like blades held just out of reach. You return to the village at dawn, sandals dusted with gravel and pride. Your breath still holds the rhythm of the duel. No blood, no blade, but every ounce of it real. You're different now, not visibly, but inside, something has shifted. Even the dogs seem to sense it. One growls, Another whines and backs away. You pass them silently, fan tucked at your hip like a folded moon. Today is festival day. The paper lanterns are already up, strung between cherry trees like drifting stars. The scent of plum wine and sizzling mochi wafts through the streets, mixing with the river breeze and the chatter of merchants unrolling fabrics dyed in all the shades of spring. Seti finds you near the well. Her expression says I heard, but she doesn't say it. She just hands you a skewer of roasted eel and a towel for your neck. Big night? She asks finally. You nod. You win? You smile faintly. Didn't have to. She snorts. Fan logic. But there's pride in her eyes, and maybe relief too. Because even in a village this small, stories travel faster than sandals can carry them. And yours, your fan, your restraint, your rhythm has begun to ripple. By mid-morning, you're invited to demonstrate, not duel, just show. You bow and take the stage. It's nothing grand, just a wooden platform near the shrine, flower petals drifting in the wind like confetti from a forgotten god. Children gather first, then merchants, then elders with clouded eyes and silent nods. You breathe in and begin, one movement at a time. Open the fan, slowly, deliberately. Sweep left, let the edge catch light. Turn, pivot from the hip, not the heel. Raise the fan vertically, like a wall, like a prayer, like a door to another time. They watch, breath held. You finish with a simple close, the snap echoing like a whispered truth. Then bow. They don't clap, not right away. Instead, an old man in the back hums, just once, a low tone. Then someone else echoes it, then another. Soon the whole crowd is humming, soft, wordless, as if to say yes, this was real. Seti brushes your shoulder. You've started something. You exhale. It was just a demonstration. No, she says, it was a story. And she's right. Historians still argue whether samurai performances, like kata or ritual fan forms, were strictly for training or also for communication, public memory, or even protest. What's known is this: a duel was rarely just a fight. It was a message, a coded dance, a declaration in motion. You walk through the market again, but this time people bow, not deeply, just enough. Enough to recognize that you've passed through something, a threshold, and you didn't burn the bridge behind you. Later that afternoon, a merchant gifts you a lacquered case for your fan. Black wood, etched with a single kanji, Jing, Shizuka. Stillness. You run your thumb over the grain. It feels like ink that's never dried. You thank him with both hands, and he nods, once, with the gravity of someone who just handed you a sword without needing blood. That night, the festival erupts. Lanterns bloom like fireflies. Drums echo from the hills. Children dance in circles, their laughter bouncing like stones across the river's surface. You eat sticky rice and drink something sweet and milky from a cup shaped like a turtle. But you don't join the dancing. Instead, you step away. Back to the river's edge, where your reflection waits, darker now but clearer somehow. You sit, fan on your lap, and breathe. This time, there's no duel, just the wind, and the faint sound of humming still echoing behind you. You don't plan on teaching, not officially. But when a young boy finds you by the river the next morning, eyes wide, face smeared with sweet rice, holding a broken paper fan, you realize that stories don't always end where you leave them. Sometimes they trail behind you like threads, and someone, somewhere, picks them up. He bows, too fast, too low, the way a child mimics reverence without understanding it yet. Show me, he asks, voice trembling not with fear, but with hope. You glance at Seti. She's watching from a distance, arms crossed, lips twitching like she's trying not to smirk. You sigh and rise. You take the boy's fan, splintered, fragile, patterned with cheap ink and dreams. You press your fingers to the cracks in its spine. It'll do. You open it slowly. The boy copies. You sweep left. So does he. Your footwork is off, on purpose. You want him to feel the adjustment, the way the wind shifts around a misstep, the way control comes not from muscle, but from listening. He stumbles, then steadies. Steady claps once. He's better than you were. You shoot her a look. She grins and walks off. The boy looks up. Was that true? About the fan being sharper than a blade? You kneel to his height. It's not about sharp, you say. It's about when. He tilts his head. You tap his chest. Here. If this is still, really still, then the fan is enough. He nods, like he understands. He doesn't. Not yet. But the seed is there. Later, others join. Not a school, just a ripple. A girl with quick hands. A quiet farmer with sun-scored skin. A toothless old man who used to carry messages through the mountains. They ask questions. They mimic. They smile. And you find yourself showing. Without ceremony. Without lecture. Just repetition. Gesture. Stillness. Movement as memory. Historians still argue whether tessenjutsu, the martial art of the war fan, was widespread or symbolic, real or ritual. There's limited documentation. Some say it was mostly for show. Others say samurai trained in it as seriously as with blades. The truth, as usual, lives somewhere between footnotes. But to the people here, watching you block sunlight with a flick of wrist and breath, the fan becomes something else. A way of being, not just defense, but dignity. That afternoon, a stranger visits the village. He's taller than most, wears traveling clothes too fine to belong to a farmer, but too dusty to belong to a noble. He watches your lesson from the edge of the well, says nothing, just watches, said he notices. He smells like silk and secrets. You chuckle. That's oddly specific. Trust me. The man approaches only at sundown, when the students have wandered off and the sky turns pink with resignation. He nods. You teach well. You nod back. I don't teach. Of course, he says. Neither do I. His fan is wrapped in silk, gold-tipped. He doesn't open it. Doesn't need to. The weight of it is enough. Would you duel again? He asks. You consider. Not unless I must. He smiles. Correct answer. Then he turns, walks away. Not toward the shrine, not toward the road, but toward the fields, the way a ghost might leave, quiet as a breeze passing through barley. Said he joins you. Friend of yours? Not yet, you say. And maybe not ever. Because the fan is like that. It calls, it connects, it releases. That night, you dream. You're not in the village, not anywhere real. Just a wide space, lit with moonlight and shaped like silence. A fan hovers before you. Massive, impossible, made of cloud and ink and memory. You reach for it. It opens without your touch. Inside, not blades, not poems, just names. Yours, Seti's, the boy, the merchant, the duelists, even the stranger. All folded together, all part of the same motion. When you wake, your hands move before your thoughts do. A sweep, a flick, a breath. And the fan, your fan, catches the light like the first dawn of a new story. You take the morning slow. Your body aches, not from dueling, not from drills, but from teaching. Or whatever you've been doing that feels like teaching, but tastes more like remembering. There's a weight to passing on motion, not a burden, a grounding. The boy returns before breakfast. He's made his own fan, clumsy folds, crooked bamboo, ink that smudges at a glance. But it's his. He holds it like it's forged in fire. You nod, he grins, and the day begins. You sweep the yard, not for cleanliness, for space, for practice. Seti watches from her perch on the porch, chewing something green and judgmental. Your form's cleaner now, she says, almost graceful. Almost, she smirks. Well, you're still you. The fan moves differently today, lighter, swifter, like it's learned something from being shared. You show the boy how to step left, pivot the hip, arc the fan not as a block but as breath. He stumbles again, but less, always less. Learning isn't linear. It spirals like the fan itself. That afternoon, the shrine bell rings. An elder from the neighboring village has arrived. She walks with a stick shaped like a serpent's spine and carries a fan so old it looks made of parchment and shadow. She speaks softly. I heard there is wind again in this town. You bow. She doesn't return it. Instead, she flicks her fan once, and dust lifts from the road like startled birds. Seti leans in. Do you think she wants to duel? You raise an eyebrow, or dance. Either way, you clear space. The woman doesn't speak again. She steps forward, opens her fan. You do the same. And then, without warning, motion begins. Not violent, not slow, just precise. She moves like rain down a sloped roof. Every flick, every pivot, every step speaks not to the body, but to the air itself. You match, barely, not mirroring, conversing. The duel lasts less than 2 minutes. When it ends, no one's bruised, but you feel changed. The elder nods once. You have listened. She turns to the crowd, small now, curious faces in the shade of the shrine gate. There was once a school for this, long ago, hidden in the mountains, where the fan was taught not as weapon but as witness. Few remember, fewer remain. Seti whispers, she means you. You're not so sure. Because the fan isn't about legacy, it's about presence. The elder leaves a mark in the dirt with her cane, a spiral, drawn slow and deep. Remember, she says, the wind forgets no hand. Then she goes, and you don't stop her, because the fan never stays in one place. That night, the boy asks, was that real? You nod. He thinks for a while. Will I ever be that good? You smile. If you learn to lose first? He doesn't understand, but he will. Historians still argue whether the Tessin ever saved a life. There are stories of samurai disarming swordsmen, of monks blocking arrows, of courtiers shaming generals in silent duels won by poise alone. But records blur with myth, and myth blurs with meaning. Still, you believe it, not because of scrolls, but because of what you felt. Because a fan, in the right hands, is more than defense. It's memory, it's choice, it's silence, practiced until it sings. Later, you sit by the river, alone. The moon is high again, same as ever, but brighter somehow. You open the fan slowly. It sighs. The breeze picks up. You let it pass through your fingers. Let it remind you what it means to move without needing to arrive. And when you close the fan, you feel no need to open it again. Not tonight. You already know what it says. You wake with your fingers curled, as if they're still holding the fan. The morning air is chill, less like summer, more like a breath held too long. Seti has left a bowl of rice and pickled plum at your door. No note, just food. You nod to the gesture because that's enough. Today you go walking, not to train, not to teach, just to feel your feet in the dust. The path takes you past the old stones, the weather-worn markers of forgotten boundaries, names carved deep by hands long turned to ash. You pause beside one. It's cracked, overgrown, but still standing. You touch it gently, because everything worth remembering lives in things left behind. A soft whimper interrupts your silence. A dog, thin, one ear flopped sideways, eyes cautious, watches you from the trees. You squat, offer your palm. The dog doesn't run, doesn't come either, just watches. You understand. Trust takes time. So you leave a crust of rice beside the stone and walk on. Farther down the path, you reach the bamboo grove. The wind speaks differently here, hollows the world into song. Every stalk clicks like prayer beads. Every leaf whispers like gossip too old to matter, but too sweet to stop telling. You sit, let it wrap you. And for the first time, you don't reach for the fan. Because the wind doesn't need translation today. It just is. You stay for hours, thinking, listening, breathing. When you return, the dog is gone, but the rice isn't. At the shrine gate, you find a new offering, a paper fan inked with a single word. Still, you don't know who left it, but you understand, because stillness isn't absence, it's attention. That evening, the village hosts a moon viewing. Nothing fancy, just blankets, cups of sweet sack, laughter that doesn't ask for a punchline. Seti sits beside you. The boy is there too, his fan now decorated with awkward lotus blossoms and one absolutely terrible dragon. You compliment it. He beams. And then the storyteller begins. Tonight's tale is old. A general defeated not by blade, but by shame, cornered by a rival who refused to draw his sword. Instead, the man stepped forward, opened his fan, and said only, "You are not worth the steel." The crowd gasps. You chuckle softly. Because that's the thing about Tessenjutsu. It's not always about winning. It's about knowing when not to fight. Historians still argue whether this story is true. Some say the general changed sides. Others claim he took his own life. A few believe he married the fan wielder's daughter and opened a tea house. You like that version best. Seti nudges you. Tell your story next. You shake your head. Not yet. She smiles. Then show them. You stand, open your fan, step into the circle, and move. No opponent, no duel, just motion, graceful, slow, certain, the kind of movement that doesn't shout but hums. And when you finish, no one claps. They just nod, like they understand something. Maybe they do, because what you've shared tonight isn't a skill. It's a rhythm, a remembrance, and that stays. The boy approaches you after. Do you think I'll be ready someday? You place the fan in his hands. Only if you never stop listening. He holds it tighter, and in that grip, you see a future not written in victories, but in breath, posture, and grace. The feast begins. You eat grilled fish, drink cold tea, taste moonlight on sticky rice. Someone sings a song with no name. Someone else falls asleep on a straw pillow, snoring like a bear that never learned shame. Seti leans over. Still want to duel samurai without a fan? You smirk. I wouldn't duel anyone without a story. She nods. Smart. Because you finally understand. The fan wasn't for blocking swords. It was for holding meaning, like hands cupped around a flame. And you? You're the flame now. So rest easy. You're learning. You wake the next morning not to flutes or drums, but to silence. A different silence, thicker. It clings to the thatch roof, hangs in the mist. Even the birds seem reluctant to speak. You step outside barefoot, the dew biting like memory. At the edge of the courtyard, Seti waits, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. You've been asked to perform, she says. You blink. Where? She tilts her head toward the distant ridge, where the wind doesn't go. You've heard of it, a secluded compound nestled deep in the pine forest, where the old families train, samurai who speak less and cut more. Their duels are rituals, their failures, whispers. You pack little, your fan, a pouch of rice, a fig misteto. Seti adds a thin jar of ink and a folded slip of parchment, just in case you need to write something down, like a will. You smirk, but your stomach clenches. The path winds uphill, wrapped in branches and fog. You pass a shrine carved into a tree root, small, moss-covered, watching. You bow. At the compound gate, 2 guards greet you with nods so slight they might be imagined. They open the doors without a word. Inside, gravel paths, raked to perfection, stone lanterns, and a line of shoes, precisely arranged. Your host steps forward. A woman. Her armor is minimal but perfect. Black lacquer, crimson ties. Her hands are bare. Her face unreadable. You carry no sword, she says. You nod. Only a fan. She studies you, then gestures to the courtyard. A circle has been drawn in chalk. 2 bamboo practice swords lie on the ground, but beside them, 2 fans, larger than yours, heavier, reinforced, ceremonial. You step inside the ring. So does she. Begin, she says. You don't bow, you breathe, and move, not to strike, to show. Tessenjutsu isn't about force, it's about rhythm, redirection, waiting. She tests you with a feint. You spin, she presses, you yield, and the circle becomes a story. You write it with your feet, your fan, your pauses. Minutes stretch. Then, she stops, breathless. You match her stillness, then slowly, fold your fan. She mirrors you. There's no applause, no nod, no praise, just the smallest twitch of her lip. Later, she brings tea. The ceremony is quiet, intentional. She doesn't ask questions. She just pours. You sip. It tastes like pine smoke and rain. Why did you come? She finally asks. You shrug. To remember. She nods slowly. Then forget. You blink. Forget the strikes, the sequences, the shapes. Keep only the listening. You understand. Because listening isn't passive. It's deliberate. Later, she walks you to the gate, hands you a scroll. Open it only when needed. Then vanishes like smoke. The walk down is slow. You don't rush. Even the wind seems gentler now. At the village, Seti greets you with pickled daikon and mock applause. Did you win? She teases. You shake your head. No. But you're alive, she notes. You grin. Barely. You both laugh, then sit beneath the tree whose leaves are just starting to turn. Autumn whispers. You listen. That evening, the village holds a lantern walk. Children giggle through winding paths, each carrying a glowing orb shaped like a fish or a fox or a crescent moon. The light dances on faces, stones, water. You carry one shaped like a folding fan. The boy with the bad dragon trails behind you. Do you think a fan can be a shield? You glance down, only if you don't treat it like one. He squints. So what do I treat it like? You pause, then answer. A question. He frowns. That makes no sense. You ruffle his hair. Exactly. The walk ends at the shrine. Everyone leaves their lanterns at the base. The wind picks up, scattering petals. And for a moment, you swear you see the samurai woman watching from the shadows. Or maybe just a pine. But either way, you bow. Because now you know. A duel isn't a clash of weapons. It's a meeting of intentions. And the fan? It's how you turn sharpness into grace. Morning again, your hands are sore, and your fan's silk edge is starting to fray. It looks like it's been through a battlefield, which, to be fair, it kind of has. You patch it carefully using a needle, some thread, and a sliver of boiled rice paste, then hang it on a branch to dry in the sun. Seti watches from a step above, sipping tea. That fan's seen more action than a spear. You nod, and it's still standing. Well, she says, so are you? Today's lesson is less dramatic, but no less important. You're going to learn about the wind. Not metaphorical wind, not whispered philosophy. Real wind. How it moves, how it bends around rooftops, how it carries the scent of rain, how it changes the flight of an arrow or the path of a thrown fan. You follow SETI to a cliffside training post, a wooden platform built into the rocks, high above a waterfall that tumbles into a deep ravine. The roar is constant, like the earth itself is breathing hard. This is where the war fans learn to fly, she says. You look at her sideways. They fly? She points to a cluster of students nearby, each standing still as statues, holding large fans at different angles, watching how the wind pulls, lifts, flutters. You join them. For hours, you don't move. You just hold the fan, tilt, adjust, feel. Every time the wind shifts, it tells a story. If you're patient, it tells you how to move. If you're careless, it takes your fan and your pride with it, right over the edge. One student loses his grip. The fan tumbles into the canyon. No one speaks. He bows once and walks away. That, SETI says softly, was a goodbye. You hold yours tighter. When the sun's directly overhead, the lesson shifts. Now, throwing, not at targets, into the wind. You watch as SETI steps forward and flicks her wrist. The fan arcs through the air, rides a current, spins once, and returns. Not perfectly, but close enough. You try. Your first attempt lands in a shrub. Second, a low dive straight into a puddle. Third, better. It takes time. But eventually, your fan sings. Just once, just for a second. You hear it whistle as it cuts the air and feel something shift in your chest. SETI grins. There it is. She explains the real secret. The fan isn't thrown. It's released. You laugh. Is that supposed to be poetic? Nope, just physics. You walk back down the trail in silence, legs sore, brain buzzing. That night, the wind is stronger. The shutters rattle. The leaves twist. You sleep anyway. In your dream, you're standing on the cliff again. But this time, you're the fan. And the wind knows exactly where to carry you. The next morning brings a guest. An old man with one eye and a cane carved from lightning-blasted cedar. He wears two fans, one tucked into his sash, the other resting across his back like a sword. He doesn't introduce himself. He doesn't need to. The whole village watches from doorways and alleys as he sits down at the courtyard and begins to teach. No words, just movement. He gestures. You mirror. He turns. You follow. It's like dancing with a shadow made of history. Every step holds weight. Every fan flick has memory. SETI whispers, he trained under the last fan general. You nod, not because you understand, but because it feels right to acknowledge the weight. Later, the old man beckons you closer. He opens one of his fans. It's iron, painted black. Along the ribs, etched in silver, are the names of battles, small, precise, dozens of them. He points to one. This, he says, was won with silence. You raise an eyebrow. He smirks, then closes the fan, tucks it away, and walks off without another word. Just before dusk, you try a new drill. Balance. You walk across a narrow beam over the koi pond, fan outstretched in one hand, a small bowl of rice in the other. SETI laughs. Don't spill either, or the koi win. You stumble once, twice, then glide, because you're no longer rushing. You're listening. The koi do not win that round. That night, as fireflies flit between the rice fields, you write the old man's name into your journal. You don't know what it is, so you just draw the silver etchings on his fan. They shimmer in your memory, because that's what this art is. Memory, motion, and wind. You fall asleep wondering how many duels were won before they ever began, just by someone choosing to wait. Morning finds you crouched under the eaves, watching rain snake down the tiles like it's tracing an old poem. It's quiet, peaceful. Even the birds seem to be waiting for something. You roll your shoulders, stretch your wrists, and feel the familiar pull in your calves, residue from yesterday's balance drills. Seti appears beside you, soaked and grinning. Guess what? You blink at her. Today you duel. You blink again. Against rain? She laughs. Against Kenta. The name hangs in the air like thunder. You've seen him. The quiet student with the sharp eyes and sharper angles. He's always watching, never talking. His fan is plain, white silk with a single line of blue ink slashing through the middle. You nod slowly. Okay, you say. What kind of duel? First to draw sweat, she replies. You hesitate. Mine or his? Yes. That afternoon, the rain slows to a whisper. The courtyard is swept clean. The villagers gather around the edges, casual but expectant, like they're pretending not to care, but they brought snacks. Kenta stands at the far end, fan closed, expression unreadable. Seti ties your sleeves tight, pats your shoulder, and whispers, Remember, the fan is not for force. It's for feeling. You step forward. Bow. He bows back. Then, silence. You wait. He moves first, a sidestep, barely a twitch. Then his fan flicks open and whips the air toward your legs. You leap back instinctively, blocking high, and the sound is like silk tearing in half. Your heart pounds. He's fast, faster than you, but you've trained for this. You watch his shoulders. You listen to the wind. The next exchange is closer. You swing wide. He counters. You feint left, sweep low, and catch his shin. Just a whisper, but enough to leave a trace of dust. He nods, then retaliates. It's beautiful, honestly. The rhythm, the flicker of motion, the way the fans hiss and hum like lullabies sharpened into blades. You land one more tap. So does he. And then, breathless, you both stop. Sweat beads your brow. His collar is damp. Seti raises a hand. Draw. No cheers, just nods. Respect. Later, Kenta approaches you near the koi pond. He offers a strip of dried plum. You take it. He says nothing else, but the gesture is clear. You're in. You train together the next few days, quietly, deliberately. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, it matters. Your stance opens too early. You lead with your right too often. Don't chase. Let them come. You absorb his words like ink on rice paper. That night, Seti calls you aside. Do you know why fans matter so much? You shrug. Balance, grace, subtlety. All that, she agrees, but also because they leave room for thought. She fans herself slowly, watching the embers in the brazier flicker. A sword ends a story, she says. A fan invites another chapter. It sticks with you. You dream that night of 1,000 duels, not battles, conversations, arguments and flicks and slaps and whirlwinds of air. You wake with your fan resting on your chest like a letter you haven't read yet. The next morning, Kenta gives you a gift. A new fan. Hand-carved from cedar and bone, painted with a single red feather. You open it carefully. It sings. Literally. There's a faint whistle woven into the frame, tuned by some artisan's sorcery so that each swing leaves a tone behind. He says only, "Now they'll hear you coming," and walks away. You spend the rest of the morning getting used to its weight, its voice, its promise. By dusk, you've figured it out, not just how to use it, but how to make it yours. You flick it open under the moonlight, feel the air split, and hear that soft hum echo back at you like a blessing. You smile, because now, if anyone asks why you duel with a fan, you know what to say. Because it's not about beating someone, It's about honoring the wind and knowing how to listen when it speaks. The next few days are different, not because your training is easier, far from it, but because now your focus has shifted. You're no longer just reacting. You're listening, watching, anticipating the spaces between motion, not just the motions themselves. Even the rice pot seems to bubble in rhythm with your steps. Seti notices. You're dancing now, she says, handing you a fig and waving away your modest protest. The fan becomes a part of your body. You stop thinking of it as a tool and start treating it like a whisper on your palm, something alive. And like all living things, it's moody, demanding, brilliant, a little annoying. The morning air has turned crisp. Autumn is flirting with the trees, painting the edges red and gold. It's festival season. You're told that tonight you'll perform, not in battle, in story. A fan dance reenacting an old legend, one of trickery and cleverness, where a lone traveler defeats a warlord using only the wind and a folding fan. Seti gives you a quick rundown of the tale. You'll be the traveler, she says. Kenta will play the warlord. The rest is yours to shape. You blink. No script? She raises an eyebrow. Would the gods write one? Fair enough. The crowd gathers just after sunset. Lanterns sway like fireflies, casting dappled shadows across the courtyard. The scent of roasted chestnuts and sandalwood drifts in on the breeze. Kenta stands at one end of the makeshift stage, arms folded, face expressionless. You enter from the other, fan closed at your side. Drums thrum once, then silence. You bow. He doesn't. The warlord never does. You circle. He stalks. You flick the fan open. A gust of air ruffles his robe. The crowd murmurs. He lunges. You dodge, flick, twist, step. Each motion is exaggerated, stylized, not meant to harm, but to teach. The legend plays out not in words, but in breath, in posture, in suggestion. You tempt him off balance. He overcommits. You parry with a twist of the fan, snap it shut against his wrist. A beat of silence. He drops to one knee, hands raised in exaggerated defeat. The crowd erupts. You bow again. Kenta grins, only slightly. After, the priestess offers you a small scroll. Rid of wind, she calls it. Inside, a blessing of agility and wisdom. More symbolic than practical, but you feel honored just the same. Later that night, you sit with Seti on the roof of the old bathhouse. She hums tunelessly, plucking dried grapes from a ceramic bowl. You did well, she says between bites. Thanks. You felt it, didn't you? You nod. The shift? Exactly. She leans back. There's a moment in every warrior's journey when they stop learning how to fight and start learning how not to. You glance at your fan. It feels more dangerous than a blade now. She chuckles. Because it is. You've mastered control. That's rarer than skill. You think about all the samurai before you, the ones who never raised their swords, the ones who let a glance speak, the ones who knew restraint was the loudest language. Seti stretches. You ready for the next lesson? There's more? There's always more. She jumps down from the roof and disappears into the dark. You stay a moment longer, fanning yourself gently, letting the cool night air settle your thoughts. A rustle below. A figure steps into view. Not Seti. Someone new. Tall. Calm. Wearing an ivory robe with a black sash embroidered in silver cranes. A master. You don't know how you know, but you know. They nod once, then vanish. You descend quietly, unsure what's next, but knowing it matters. The fan in your hand hums softly as you walk, as if whispering, "We're not done yet." The next morning, you're up before the sun, before even the cicadas bother warming their legs. Your fan rests beside your sleeping mat, still cool from the night air, and for a moment, you stare at it like it might reveal something. Because after last night, you're not quite sure where you stand. A master saw you. That's not nothing, but it's also not everything. Seti greets you with a cup of rice broth and a nod, but there's an energy in her stride. Anticipation, maybe. You follow her without question to the shrine at the far edge of the compound. A place you've never been. The shrine is small. Stone and cedar, shaded by an old pine tree that smells of sap and storm water. Inside, incense curls like thought, and a pair of slippers waits just outside the threshold. You're meeting someone, Seti says simply. Then she turns and leaves. The shrine door creaks open before you can knock, and there they are, the figure from last night. Ivory robes, silver crane sash, hair bound in a topknot so neat it looks carved. They gesture for you to enter. Inside it's dim, cool. The master sits, legs folded, a fan in their lap, painted black with a single red dot in the center. You kneel, silence stretches, then they speak. What is a fan? Your mouth opens, closes, opens again. A weapon. They shake their head. A message? They raise one eyebrow. A boundary? Closer, the master murmurs. You wait. They tilt their head. A fan is a decision. You blink. They continue. You choose when to open, when to close, when to strike, when to shade. A sword can only cut. A fan can warn or welcome. You feel something shift inside you, like the last piece of a door unlocking. The master sets down their fan. Let me show you something. You move outside, into the sun, which is now climbing through the trees like a curious fox. They demonstrate. No words, just movement, each step perfectly weighted, each flick of the fan deliberate. The performance isn't flashy, it's quiet, calculated, like ink drying on parchment, slow but permanent. When they finish, they bow. You bow back, and then it's your turn. You repeat the motions, not perfectly, but with attention. At one point, you falter. Your weight shifts wrong. You expect correction. But the master says nothing. They only watch. When you finish, they walk over and touch your wrist lightly. Slower here, they whisper. Make the moment breathe. Then they step back. You're ready. You blink. For what? For restraint. You pause. Is that a skill? The master nods. The rarest. You leave the shrine carrying more silence than answers. Seti meets you near the rice paddies and raises an eyebrow. How was it? You exhale. Complicated. Good, she says, then throws you a training fan. Let's make it worse. The rest of the day is sparring. Not with blades, not even with fans, with words, with posture, with stillness. Seti circles you, testing your resolve. What happens if someone draws first? I wait. What happens if they lunge? I shift. What if they insult your mother, your honor, your ancestors? You hesitate, then say, I breathe. She grins. You're learning. Late that evening, a novice runs up with a message. You've been chosen to accompany the village delegation for festival guard duty, not as a swordsman, as a sentinel, silent, present, ready, with only your fan. You're nervous, but you accept. That night, sleep is restless. You dream of war drums and falling cherry blossoms and a fan fluttering like a wounded bird in your hand. You wake sweating and calm, because the lesson is landing. You don't need a blade to be dangerous. You need a choice. And tomorrow, you'll carry one in your palm. You rise before dawn, the festival still a rumor in the air, drums not yet beating, silk banners not yet flying. but the temple grounds buzz like a mouthful of wasps. Everyone's moving, everyone's polishing, everyone's trying not to trip over their own feet. And you? You're calm, because today you carry no sword, only your fan, and all the things it now means. Seti helps you dress, plain but crisp. Indigo robes with a teal sash, hair tied back, sleeves rolled just so. She even smooths a wrinkle near your shoulder with the kind of care that doesn't need explanation. Then she hands you your fan. It's not the training one, not the heavy practice stick you used to flail with like an angry crane. This one is lacquered wood, red edges, a golden crane painted across the silk. You unfold it once, just once, and fold it again. It fits your hand like a final answer. Don't smile too much, Seti teases. It'll ruin your mysterious aura. You grin anyway. The village path is already lined with festival lanterns, floating like captured stars. You walk with the others, sentinels, elders, dancers, all part of the same thread. And as you reach the shrine steps, you take your place beside the gate. Not center, not spotlight, but shadow, present. The position isn't glamorous. You stand there for hours, watching, breathing, folding and unfolding your fan now and then, not because you're bored, but because you're marking time. Like a metronome with teeth, children run past, old men nod at you. Merchants shout prices from colorful stalls. Somewhere, a flute plays a song so old it probably predates shoes. And then, a commotion. Not a fight. Not quite. Just a drunk man shouting, wagging a stick, red in the face, demanding something about honor, about debts. The other sentinels tense. One reaches for his sword, but you step forward first. You don't speak. You don't draw. You unfold your fan, slowly. The man sees you. And something in him, some instinct or echo of childhood stories, makes him stop. He stares. You tilt your head. No threat, no fear, just presence, and a decision not to escalate. He drops the stick, walks away. You close the fan. Behind you, the elders murmur. Seti, who's somehow appeared again like a magical ghost, grins from the vendor stalls. Later, after the festival winds down and the sky begins to collect stars again, the shrine keeper approaches you. He places something in your hand. It's not gold, not a scroll. It's an old fan, bamboo and cloth, worn smooth, edges frayed. It belonged to someone who made good choices, the keeper says. You bow. You tuck the fan into your sash, and you sit on the temple steps while others dance, eat, drink, and tell stories. Someone offers you rice wine. You decline. Someone else hands you a fried leek skewer. You accept. You choose slowly, thoughtfully. Because here's the truth. You don't need a duel to be dangerous. You don't need a kill count to be powerful. You don't need a sword to be remembered. You need presence, poise, and the courage to pause. Historians still argue whether non-violent warriors were respected or merely tolerated in ancient Japan. Whether those who carried fans instead of blades were guardians of peace or just showpieces for parades. But under this moon, after this day, you know the answer. You are not an accessory. You are an option. You are a question someone isn't sure they want answered. You unfold your fan one more time, letting it flutter against the night breeze. A man approaches, drunk on wine and story. You the guy who stopped the fight? He asks. You nod once. He tilts his head. With just a fan? You smile and don't answer, because mystery tastes better than proof. And tomorrow you'll be back in the courtyard, training, listening, moving slow. But tonight, you lie back on the temple roof, looking at the stars. One hand folded beneath your head, the other curled around a fan that feels heavier than it looks. You exhale and dream of nothing. Because peace doesn't always need a story. Sometimes it just needs a choice. So now, as the final echo of footsteps fades and the lanterns go dim, let yourself settle into the soft rhythm of breath and stillness. Let the memory of folding fans and quiet strength stretch like silk across your thoughts. You've walked alongside warriors who didn't raise blades. You've seen restraint used as a shield. You've felt the hush that follows a moment of mercy and understood that sometimes quiet is louder than steel. There's no duel waiting now, no festival crowd, no temple bell, just you, just the low thrum of night, the gentle creak of wooden floorboards beneath a sleeping world, the weight of something ancient, discipline, wisdom, stillness, curling gently into your limbs like warmth. Let it hold you. Let it whisper in a voice too soft for fear. You don't have to swing to stand. You don't have to fight to matter. You just have to be still, present, true. So breathe in the quiet. Exhale the rush. Feel the fan fluttering in your palm. Cool silk, painted with stories. Let the stars above become ink on your ceiling. And if you dream, let it be of a road, sunlit, unhurried, and lined with silence that sings your name. Sweet dreams,